Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Community Fortress. This is kind of a special one, and I'll get into why in a second. This is the Fortress of Groupbolted, of the Intense Swords. So, normally I receive fortresses via my Discord server, via the Save Sharing Room, which you can find down in the Discord link in the description, and join the Save Sharing Room. There you can send me saves and ideally some screenshots. Just let me know that it's okay to use your save in a video. And from there, you can upload the save directly in a zipped folder to that room in the Discord, or put it on Google Drive, or upload it to the Dwarf Fortress file depot, whatever works for you, frankly. Now, this particular fortress, it was actually sent in by a friend of mine. She goes by Whoa Jess and actually streams on Twitch. I'll put a link down to her channel in the description of this video, and it should be on the screen right now. So go give her a follow, tell her I sent you, and let her know what you think of this fortress. As for this fortress itself, this was one of her first fortresses in Dwarf Fortress ever. She started playing when the premium version released on Steam, and has been streaming quite a bit of it. She also has a YouTube channel, and there's also a link to that in the description, of course. Now, this fortress is the Fortress of Groupbolted, of the Intense Swords, of the Orb of Graves. Well, we know that we're all a big fan of orbs over here. So once we dive in, we're going to get a little look. Immediately, we're going to be shown the great sign of Dwarven success, which is blood and vomit, which means something's definitely going right. We can scroll around here a little bit, and we can see a few small structures out here on the surface, as well as some surface farming going on, which immediately makes me mildly curious. What are they farming here? Fisher berries. Well, everybody loves some fisher berry wine. We can see some small ramps and some small entryways, but let's see if we can find the actual main entrance to the fortress. I'm assuming it's somewhere up here, and from the looks of things, it is. So, the fortress front door, you walk here, you go up this little way, and there's a drawbridge. This drawbridge then goes down a ramp into this room, which then goes up into here, which then goes up all the way to here, which then goes across. And there is a secondary drawbridge here, which appears to be inaccessible from what I can tell. You walk along here, and then there's an upward slope. Oh, I see. It goes up and up and up, and okay, I getcha. So it's kind of a skybridge walkway thing up here to this little pasture. Creative. I like it. How the heck are you planning to get wagons in here at some point? Well, I guess we are just a metropolis, and I don't think... Oh, no, we do have a duchy. So if there isn't a front door around here anywhere, and there isn't anywhere to trade outside, which I may have missed, then wagons can't trade with you here. You gotta have a 3-tile wide entryway to your fort somewhere to allow for wagons. But, I mean, no matter, if you have no plan on trading with wagons, then, of course, be that what you will. As far as the entryway, though, goes, while it's mildly unorthodox, I will say that it is an effective way to be able to easily lock out threats. Many different drawbridges to pull, and many different checkpoints for your visitors to pass through. As we scroll down into the fortress itself, we have some... treacherous, shall we say, railingless stairways. And then a good bathing station. Every good dwarven fortress needs a good bathing station down here, surrounded with various critters' blood, as it should be. Dwarves need to be clean, and that was things that was on dwarves previously. Now that we're in the fortress itself, it's this lovely little pattern. We see a little spot down here for coffins, many of them unassigned, but plenty assigned at the same time. And then we have this cute little tavern, the Peach of Paint. I'm a fan. I like it. It looks nice. There's also a little dormitory nearby for visitors, and the constructive house, which is, of course, a small library, doesn't appear to have any books in it, but it does have many scholars, and I'm sure that they're doing plenty of times making their little brains hurt thinking. Down here in the tavern itself, if I select the tavern, we do have several tavern keepers and several bards. If you notice people or characters mysteriously dying in the tavern due to suffocation, it's probably due to the tavern keep getting a little bit enthusiastic with the alcohol. If a dwarf or character tends to fall asleep in the tavern, well, they don't just fall asleep and take a nap. The tavern keeper goes, "Oh, you must need more alcohol," and proceeds to pour it on their head until they drown or die of alcohol poisoning, whatever happens first. So yeah, trading is down here, which means you're limited to just the cart trading. In a fortress of this size, I would very much make sure that there's a 3x3 entryway somewhere so that they can get in. Then we do have 2 barracks as well. as a third barracks. So a total of 3 spots. I'm assuming it's like training and sleeping, and then just training. Yeah, it looks like training and storage, storage and sleeping, storage and sleeping. Yes. And then let's go down a layer. We move down a layer. We can see food storage, a good amount. Nothing unrealistic. And then another kind of lovely set of patterns. Lots of different little bedrooms and spaces for dwarves to live, as well as this kind of upper area here filled with various offices for those important, and an unnamed meeting hall, which is designated as the Copper Home, a hospital. Over here on the right side, we have the Apple of Glazing, which of course is a tavern, a secondary tavern, that also happens to have a dormitory attached. Many more bedrooms for dwarves. I'm sure they appreciate those. And then a little stockpile for various things. And then down here at the bottom, we have a dining hall, close to plenty of bedrooms, as well as drinks, which is always nice to see. Then down here, we have 2 more storage zones, as well as 2 more cooking zones, of course, attached to their own sets of little stairways, so they can pop down a layer and get to their storage, pop down another layer, and there they are, ready to brew, ready to craft. We've got furnaces over here on the left and right. And then kind of up here in the upper section, we have several different guild halls. Down the bottom, even more guild halls. And then around this, we have different what do you call it? Chapels, different temples. Now, something to be wary of, and this is something that I've only just learned about myself, so don't think that I'm just like critiquing for the sake of critiquing. Be careful about overlapping zones. It does a number on your zone's value. So what I'm starting to do now is just make sure that everything gets a separate room unto itself, so that they don't have to worry about this. It's kind of a problem. Also, you've got starving bunny rabbits kind of everywhere. Bunny rabbits and various other grazing critters maybe aren't that obvious, but I don't know if that's intentional that they're starving. You might be trying to kill them, but this goat here is also starving. Maybe you just got a migrant wave at the very end and haven't had time to pasture them yet, but note to self about that. Massive storage zone right here for plenty of mining. I generally just deep mine, but I guess this is kind of like the result of... So in the defaults in this version of the game, ore is much more common. By default. The default setting now when you generate a world, I think, is frequent. I normally set mine to sparse, so I have to dig vertically because I'll only find maybe a handful of ore veins per layer instead of just like tons. So this is much more viable, although I personally would never do it. And then I guess this is an area for Forgotten Beast combat, which seems pretty badass. And then we have some dwarves that I think are stationed down here in the caverns. Oh, those poor dwarves. I do hope that they get a drink soon. They look so thirsty. And then down here is this awesome road. So I actually was talking to Jess about this on her stream. I was very excited when I saw that she had a road. If you've never seen a road before in Dwarf Fortress, it just kind of goes down a few layers here and then down underneath things and then back up and off the map. These are highways. These are used in adventure mode. They don't serve any purpose in Fortress mode currently, but these highways are used by dwarves for going from one place to another, or in my experience in adventure mode, dying very quickly because something ambushes you along the highway. But as you can see, we're in kind of a cluster close to our home faction, and there's a lot of peace around this area. So these dwarves are using that highway to get up and through this mountain layer so that they can access these inner routes. And as you can see, they are currently inaccessible from your location, which means the way they got in there was via those underground highways in World Gens. So that's something that I really, really like about this area, that there's actually one of these, because they're quite rare. They're quite hard to stumble upon. It requires some dumb luck. Down here in the caverns themselves, there's more farming going on. Nice, reasonable-sized farming plots. I would definitely wall this in a little bit, try and make it a little bit more secure, because currently there really isn't much security here. If we actually look at the staircase location too, it is pretty close to where the farms are. I would have just farmed like right here and then just put up a little wall around this and been a little bit more careful with this. But, you know, some people like to live life dangerously, so I'm not going to judge too much about that. Aside from that, though, you know, Jess asked me to criticize and like give feedback, and Jess has done a lot of things that I don't even see like people who are experienced players doing. You know, it's an interesting pattern. You know, it's a bit more symmetrical than something I would make, but it's an interesting pattern. There's multiple ways in and out of the fort, messing with water a little bit over here. everything seems to be laid out in a pretty accessible format for the dwarves. There isn't too much line of sight going on, so frame rate's going to be pretty okay, even though there is like a billion cats and other little animals running around. When I let the fort run itself, like we're sitting pretty comfortably at 50 frames a second on 179 dwarves, and with the amount of livestock that's in this fort, that's actually quite great. So there is that. And largely this is due to these tight, small hallways, no wider than 2 wide, and in a lot of cases, like dwarves are all off in their own areas, all in small meeting zones. I think the main frame rate driver downer right here is this pile of cats. But, you know, hey, if you want to be a crazy cat fortress, you can absolutely do that, right? Dwarf Fortress is about building the fortress you want to make and not the fortress that's necessarily the most optimal. But I do quite like this fort. I was enjoying watching her streams, and I can't wait to see what she makes next. I think the main thing that I would work on would be this kind of front entryway. Not because it's ineffective or bad, but because it really reminds me of an entryway that isn't designed to look cool and more of an entryway that's designed to be practical. And I think it both manages to be impractical and also not look cool. But, you know, I guess that's kind of just a matter of taste at that point. What I would have done would have been I would have focused more on this. I would have built this up into a tower. I would have gotten rid of all of this here. This kind of drawbridge over to this little paddock over there is kind of fine, but I would have just not worried about any of this and just built a bigger wall around here and then had maybe like a 3-stage entryway just so that wagons could get into trade and not have to worry about threatening attacks and could easily get around them. Also, this area here, this little wall, is completely redundant. Most forces could very easily just drop down into here, and then now they're coming right in. Like goblins, for example, if this was in an area where goblins were a threat, they could very easily just walk up here, climb up this, because this is rough stone, which is not too hard to climb for most critters, or like a bronze colossus could just walk up it basically, and then it would just run over here and vault down in. So I would have built a second wall here at the very least, maybe even a third layer, and push this wall out here back a little bit more, because this is still perfectly accessible. Like you could if you're playing in adventure mode, almost anything could climb up a sheer rough surface like this. It's not hard to climb. So this is kind of putting yourself at threat by default. But aside from that, I think that this is a cool little fort. I think this is an awesome early attempt at somebody learning the game, and I look forward to seeing what Jess makes. And once again, if you're watching this video and you haven't yet, please go give Jess a follow. Like, she's cool. She streams quite frequently on Twitch. She streams full-time. She's part of my stream team. She's a good friend of mine. Got to hang out with her in Vegas, and go give her some support. She's a cool person. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more videos like it, there's a growing playlist of them on my YouTube channel. And if you want to see more fortresses like this, full of cats or otherwise, well, you'll get more of that there, as well as tutorials and various other things around the edges. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.